Oh, that was an awfully quick start. All right, good morning to everybody out there. Another update. Whether you like it or not, and everything. I was watching something on Fox News this morning. They were talking to Dan Bongino, and Dan Bongino is back doing his podcast now on Rumble. And Dan Bongino is saying he can't figure it out either because he thinks there's two different components. This is all I want to say on this. I want to get to some Ohio news, but basically, his hypothesis at this point is maybe there was a burglary that went bad, and then this whole thing with the ransom note and all that is a separate entity trying to take advantage of the situation to make some money. It makes a lot of sense to me. Let's talk about, let's look at a few things here on X. You can go to X and catch up some really great news here on Ohio political news. So these are countries right now that have voter ID. Now let me look at some of these. We've got Iceland, we got Sweden, we got Ireland, Germany, Ukraine. You got a lot of these Korea, Iraq, Turkey, Greece. You have Chile. Ooh, it's got to be cold in that area. Do you know what country is missing on this graph? Even Somalia today requires voter ID. But what you're missing is the United States. We don't have voter ID in this country. Oh, it's racist. It's discrimination. Every other freaking country in the world has voter ID. We can't do it here. We have to do it here. Now, in Ohio, one of the things I realized in Ohio was that when you talk about voter ID, you're really only talking about when you go in person to vote. Because if you do mail-in balloting, you don't show an ID. You list the last four digits of a social security number, and that's where you can get all these illegals voting. That's where you can get all the ballot harvesting going. Even some states, there's like 13 states that don't require any ID at all. And Minnesota is one of them. So these are the states that Kamala Harris won. She won every single state in the presidential election where you didn't have to show ID. And I think she lost every state where you had to show ID. So go figure that one out, okay? You don't have to be rocket science to figure that one out. I want to see what else we got on our... This is John Thune. He's becoming the biggest rhino on the face of the earth. Call and demand that we pass the SAVE Act. And this guy is holding it up there. Fetterman wants the SAVE Act. He's the lone Democrat at this point who is saying, we've got to do it. Okay, closer to home, Josh Williams, Attorney General Dave Yost, here they are talking about passing a bill. So Josh Williams there, who is going to be running against Marcy Kaptur in the Toledo area for that congressional seat, and he's got to win. He's introducing a bill that's going to say that if ICE comes to Ohio, we are working with ICE 100%, no matter what the temperature is outside. We are working with ICE. We're not going to be like Minnesota and all that other stuff there. Here's the guys that are holding it up. It's the most important issue right now, the SAVE Act. Rand Paul always has to do something to get his name in the media. He's another one that needs to take a long walk off a very short pier. Tom Tillis, Todd Young, Jerry Moran, Susan Collins. Oh, my God. Susan Collins out of Maine. Chuck Grassley. Oh, that guy is old. Whew. Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska. And she's another one. You know where we need ICE the most? In Alaska. That's where we need it. Mitch McConnell, who I did not even know was still alive. He's voting against it. What else we got here with the news? God bless America. God bless Trump. Trump is making and dedicating the United States to God, the Christian God, by the way. And I love it. 95% of Republicans want the SAVE Act passed. They want voter ID. 71% of Democrats, 83% of all Americans require photo ID to vote. And as I scale down here a little bit, there was one other thing. I am going to come back to this Ron DeSantis here, but just to finish off the topic, remember Kamala Harris was supposed to be president if she would have won. If they could have cheated a little bit more, maybe. But here she is trying to explain voter ID. I think this is absolutely hilarious.
Because in some people's mind, that means, well, is agreeing to voter ID one of those compromises that you'd support? I don't think that we should
listen closely.
Underestimate what that could mean. Because in some people's mind, that means, well, you're going to have to Xerox or
and remember, this lady could have been the president of the United States. They're thinking about running her again. I hope so.
Photocopy your ID to send it in to prove you are who you are. Well, there are a whole lot of people, especially people who live in rural communities, who don't. There's no Kinko's. There's no Office Max near them.
No
people
Kinko's
have to understand that when we're talking
Max.
about voter ID laws, be clear about who you have in mind and what would be required of them to prove who they are.
Okay, that's enough. But, you know, the scary part is that lady could have been president. And that's such a simple question, you know. Just tell us a little bit about voter ID. She rambled on for a minute and word salad and said nothing. Let's move over to property taxes here in Ohio.
Did it through a sales tax. Sales tax would go up to a 17, 18, 19%. 20% sales tax in the state of Ohio on products that you buy. So it would just be absolutely devastating.
Absolutely devastating. Okay, so we're referring here to Governor DeWine. He is fear-mongering everybody that property taxes, if they are abolished, yeah, I know. You got $23 billion in revenue that comes in from property taxes. And he sent a memo to the Office of Budget and Management and wanting, and this is the lady that is in charge of the Office of Budget and Management, Kimberly Merniques. Okay, obviously she knows everything there is to know about property taxes that you were afraid to ask. But anyhow, she said, oh yeah, if you eliminate $23 billion from the budget, that's going to really hurt things in Ohio. Yes, we know that. You don't have to create the Office of Budget and Management in order to tell us that, okay? By the way, our tax dollars are funding that organization. So what she said in the memo is that eliminating property taxes would immediately destabilize local budgets and force deep cuts into essential services, such as law enforcement, first responders, schools. It would delay roads and infrastructure, and would threaten senior citizens and people with disabilities, Kimberly Merniques said. Okay, now no one is denying that. No one is denying that if you chunk out $23 billion in property taxes, it's going to cause a few problems, okay? We're not here to state the obvious, okay? Because I've heard people say that. They listen to what Governor DeWine says. Oh, we're going to raise the sales tax to 20%. Oh, it's going to be devastating, horrible. We can't do it. There's no way that can possibly be done. We're not going to let it happen. No, listen to me. The reason the amendment says that we're abolishing all property taxes is because when you work with the state government here in Ohio, it is really, really hard. And when you put an amendment together and you try to get 420,000 signatures, and if they don't like the way it's worded because there's a grammatical error or there's a syntax error or whatever, they throw it out and say you got to start over. So Brian Massey, who's heading this, Abolish Ohio Property Taxes, and there's a group behind him. There's a lot of other people. He's kind of the guy out front, though. Yeah, this was all deliberately done to make it simple. We abolish the property taxes, and then we decide from there how to make this happen, because there's an enormous amount of waste, fraud, and abuse that's going on at the state level, in case you didn't know. I mean, Medicaid itself is probably somewhere between $4, $5, $6, $7 billion in waste, fraud, and abuse. So there's massive amounts of abuse that we got to start chopping away when we talk about the property taxes, because this is our money. We are taking our money, handing it to the state government, who is just throwing it around, wasting it, and we're saying no more. The second thing is people are losing their homes, especially those on. Everybody is losing their homes, but especially those that are senior citizens that now you're just on Social Security, which is like nothing, and that's all you have to live on, and you've got these massive property taxes that you can't pay. And the state technically doesn't take your house. A third party takes your house. A third party takes the house, gives the tax money to the state. The state says, thank you. Wipes their hands of it. Now the third party owns your home. It's ruthless, okay? It's ruthless. So what Ron DeSantis has come up with, and he's a great governor. Ron DeSantis is a great, great governor of Florida. And I wish we had him here. And I'm hoping for the same things with Ramaswamy. So we'll see. But the thing is with Ron DeSantis, let's just listen to this for a second here. See if we can play some of this.
We're trying to focus on Florida homeowners and their primary resident. People that have Airbnbs or whatever, that's separate. Yeah. But your personal home, you shouldn't rent it from the government. You should own it.
What a novel concept right there, okay? So Florida does not have a state tax. They're going to eliminate property taxes on your primary residence, which would be an awesome thing to do here in Ohio. Because I would have no problems, and I don't think anybody would have problems. I even rolled this off of Brian Massey, and he doesn't have a problem with it, didn't seem like, that if you own a factory, if you have rental property, an Airbnb, anything like that, multiple homes, your primary residence, the one home that you primarily live in, that would be property tax free. Everything else could be charged property tax, like data centers, like baseball stadiums. It cracks me up. The data centers are not paying anything in property taxes. This football stadium is not going to pay anything in property taxes from what I know. At least the current football stadium that we have in Cleveland doesn't pay any property taxes because, we let Cleveland own it and, their city government and blah, blah, blah. So they don't really pay property tax. There's so many. Who's getting the brunt of it? It's us, okay? We are the ones getting the brunt of it with our homes. And all you're doing is renting your home from the government. So it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that there are alternatives. But when you talk to our state government, especially run by DeWine right now, who is just going to do fear-mongering. The guy's back in the 1980s. He doesn't know what's going on. And that's why we don't want him in anymore. We need some new creative thinking in this state. And throwing Jim Tressel in. You want to get Jim Tressel to become the governor. No. Like, as I said, we need some new thinking. Some young, creative, new blood. Even if the person's not that young, just to have some new, creative thinking. We call it new blood interjected into this state. It's so important. So important. All right, I got to talk about a couple other things here real quick. Trump was not happy with the Bad Bunny Super Bowl halftime show. He said it was a slap in the face to our country. I'm not sure if you watched the Super Bowl. I did not. I did not have time to watch it. We were doing a podcast, as a matter of fact. We were doing a podcast on Sunday night. I don't watch that garbage anymore. First of all, I don't care who wins. I couldn't care less. But I know most of the country is watching it without a doubt. They got great ratings again, and they will continue to get great ratings. There's a picture of Trump there. So what else did Trump have to say here? He called the show a slap in the face, absolutely, to America. It makes no sense. In an affront to the greatness of America. And it doesn't represent the standards of our success, creativity, excellence. Nobody understands a word that this guy was singing about. I didn't watch it, but nobody could understand a word, apparently, Bad Bunny. And then you had all those clantily dressed women and all the grinding and the sexual maneuvers and everything. And all the young kids watching. it's despicable. Here he is carrying the Puerto Rican flag. Carry an American flag, will you? You're in America. You don't make any money in Puerto Rico. Is that one republic? That one comedian said, "It's just a floating garbage dump. That's all Puerto Rico is, man." We don't realize how great we have it in this country as long as we keep the eye on the politicians and we keep this country free. This is a great country. You don't want to become like Puerto Rico, man. Here he is with Lady Gaga. So from what I understand, it was a horrible, horrible halftime show. And, here's a picture of the guy watching the halftime show. All right. And Turning Point USA, they had about 6, 7. It was the Turning Point USA halftime show. There's about 6 or 7 million viewers that switched and watched that during the halftime, which was pretty significant. All right, what else we got going on? I do want to just mention this quickly. This happened.
Still have a metallic taste in my mouth.
3 years ago, East Palestine.
Numbness in my gums.
I'm now on an inhaler that I've never had in my life.
When you go outside and
unbelievable,
you smell this, and then your throat goes numb and you lose your voice and you can't get your breath. It's just it's
terrible. It's terrible.
I just have no other way to describe it.
In Springfield,
also,
they're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating the dog.
They're eating the cats. That also is another issue. So we've had some really big things happening here in Ohio. Yeah, it was about 3 years ago. We had the East Palestine Railroad debacle, and nothing was ever done with that. DeWine was out there again. He did nothing. Sherrod Brown was out there. He did nothing. Nobody did anything. Trump did make an appearance. If you remember, Sleepy Joe Biden, he came out, he come out months later, a year later? Unbelievable. So, here's one other picture. Let me show you this image here. This was the clouds. Those are toxic clouds over Pennsylvania, because East Palestine is right on the border of Ohio and Pennsylvania. And this guy's house, he took those pictures. He was swearing like crazy. I had to cut out the audio. But those are all toxic chemicals that are in the air. Horrible, horrible incident. And again, they dropped the ball. Our state did not help these East Palestine people very well. Not at all. Not at all. So, and then of course they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. I still get a kick out of that. But hey, the Haitians are in the news again because ICE is going to be coming to Springfield. I guess there was a little bit of some type of a order. Some judge blocked it temporarily, but ICE is coming. ICE is coming, and they got to get there. Why? Because they're
cats. Eat the cat. Eat the cat. They're eating lit.
Bird better drop it. If you take my pet, then I'm pulling up like CrossFit.
They're eating
seas where they said Hello Kitty, but it ain't there. It's right here in your city. When I turn my back.
Yeah, they're eating the dogs, eating the cats. I did talk to some lady out there in Springfield. And just one-on-one was BSing with her with the phone, just talking and stuff like that. And she was saying, listen, there's a lot to that because they used to have these long-necked geese. And they're not at some of these parks and ponds anymore like they used to be. She says, something is suspicious. There's some suspicious activity that's going on there. Yeah. Well, in any event, just to sum it up, as we continue to push forward with the whole property tax thing, there are solutions, there are ways. If you look at Florida, Ron DeSantis is making sure that that state abolishes property taxes on your primary residence. If we abolished property taxes on the primary residence here in Ohio, you're not talking about a $23 billion gap. That gap is much, much smaller because you're still collecting property taxes for the road, the bridges, the police, the fire, the schools, the blah, blah, blah. And also when it comes to the schools, 65% or more of your taxpayer money goes to your property taxes go to the local school district. That has to all be taken over by the state of Ohio. 100% taken over by the state of Ohio. The state is supposed to take care of the state school, which is why they call it a state school, and not the local property tax owners. We should not be paying anything on our house. There should not be anything attached to the house at all. And last, we're not going to go with a city tax either. That is a bunch of BS. We're not going to take the property taxes and then just throw it on the backs of some massive city tax. That isn't the answer either. And the legislators got to realize they work for us. They've got to find a solution for us, not the donor base, not the teachers union, not the fire and the police unions, but they got to find a solution for us. All right? All righty. Well, you guys have a good morning. It's starting to warm up outside. Thank God for that. Take care. Talk to you soon. God bless you.